Exactly. That's like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I have my fast lenses, but not like. Yeah. I don't have a long. I guess I should throw a 1.4. I was gonna get Bill.
They can just
I would have got the one. I guess that one's also good.
Second guy.
Bacon?
I'm gonna focus. You know what I mean? You might get cleared out there. Short. It's not like that's not like it's really good. You're gonna have time. Maybe.
Your thoughts on the meeting, sir? Quick thing.
Yeah, let me say, obviously, we can't talk about the classified information, but in general, I applaud the Trump administration taking seriously the threat that drugs coming into our country has posed for years and years. I mean, we've lost millions of Americans to the scourge of drugs that come into our country from a number of sources. Obviously, the boats bring in the cocaine, other things, other methods that the drug cartels have been using. They're just like terrorist organizations killing Americans here on our soil. And what President Trump said is we're not going to take this anymore. And the fact that he's taken these aggressive actions, I think you've already seen a dramatic drop in the number of those boats coming over, because they know you get on a boat filled with cocaine to come and kill Americans, to poison our people, you're not going to make it here. You're not going to make it here alive, and your drugs aren't going to make it to our shores. And ultimately, that's what we want to see. We want to see the end of drugs coming into the United States. And President Trump has taken this seriously. I wish other presidents had done the same. So they've laid out, obviously, the reasons why, the legal methods that they use. And, we're going to have a vote on this, the Meeks resolution that I oppose to try to stop it. Why would anybody want to, in essence, defend drug cartels' ability to bring drugs into America when we know it kills over 150 young people a day are being killed just from fentanyl? And again, President Trump has taken it seriously, put tariffs on China, as we all know, specifically for fentanyl. But he's made it clear drug cartels are going to be targeted. And if you're trying to bring drugs into this country, it's a new day.
Are you concerned if you need the regime change?
Have you personally seen the video and you support the release of the video?
They didn't show the video.
You wish you'd seen the video.
Services today. I haven't seen the video. I've seen some services video.
Take your document. Stop before.
I can go.
What did you make of the brief?
Yeah, so we just received a briefing from the Secretary of War and the Secretary of State and our top military officials on the strikes against the narco-terrorists off the coast of Venezuela. Questions are still being answered by members, but I think the information that was provided was very helpful. It affirms what many of us have already known, and I'm going to share some thoughts with you about what was shared in there, but ultimately the big question about what authority supports all this. The President of the United States has directed these actions consistent with his responsibility, and that responsibility is clear: to protect Americans and United States interests abroad and in furtherance of the United States national security and foreign policy interests, pursuant to his constitutional authority. He has that authority as Commander-in-Chief and as the Chief Executive to conduct foreign relations. As the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump has both the authority and the obligation to defend our homeland, and I think that's beyond dispute. Pursuant to this constitutional authority and the law of armed conflict, the President determined that the United States is in non-international armed conflict. That's NIAC, as the acronym is known. And that is with designated terrorist organizations and their affiliates who have evolved into complex structures with financial means and parliamentary capabilities needed to operate with impunity, engage in violence and terrorism. That presents a clear and present danger to the security of America and threaten other nations in our hemisphere. I want to make this point very clear. Over the last 4 years alone, America has lost more lives to drug overdoses and other drug-related deaths than we did to the enemy actions in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq combined. This is a serious problem that a serious administration is addressing. These are highly organized and sophisticated narco-terrorist organizations, and they operate, as we said, with impunity. And the President has determined that these cartels constitute the legally defined groups that allow us to take these actions. The Trump administration, by the way, has been much more forthcoming with the legal rationale behind these strikes than prior administrations. And I want to point out this one example. From 2009 to 2015, President Obama conducted over 500 drone strikes, killing over 3,700 persons, some of whom were United States citizens, and he never offered any legal justification to Congress at all. The Department of War has now briefed Congress more than 20 times in bipartisan classified settings on these strikes. Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth have briefed the Gang of 8 and the Gang of 16 as well. I've been in those briefings myself. The administration has also made available multiple documents to the Hill, including the Office of Legal Counsel opinion, which has been reviewed by over 150 members. The Department of War has shown video of the September 2nd strike to the Gang of 8 and leadership of the Armed Services and Defense Appropriations Committees. They'll be made available to all members of the Armed Services Committee this week. This is exquisite intelligence that supports these actions. It is certainly appropriate. It's necessary to protect the United States and our interests. That's what was presented today. Different members have different questions. I hope and assume that all those are being answered. Thank you all for being here.
You support the release of the video?
Are you doing Schumer, Bonnie? I got a decent shot at Chuck going up the escalator.
Are you? Oh. All right. We will see you in a minute. Bye.
Nice kids if you're sitting there. Stuff she wrote the other day. And somebody's about to come out and I'm sitting up on it. Don't worry. Thank you. I'll wait till they come out. It's real. Right. I didn't even go there. I'd like, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, what we heard today is exactly the type of operation that requires congressional authorization. The language that they're using, the terminology is wartime counterterrorism terminology. I spent 3 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. This nation spent 20 years at war trying to counter terrorism. We spent $3 trillion doing so. This is precisely the role of the United States Congress. To have the debate, to talk about the funding, and then make a decision about whether an operation like this is in the interest of the American people, whether military is the right way to approach it.
Do you have any concerns that this will lead to U.S. enacted regime change in Venezuela?
That was not covered today, but I have concerns about mission creep and how this can tumble out of control, which is exactly why Congress needs to be consulted. We need guardrails, we need oversight. This is the first briefing that we have had to the United States Congress in the months since an armed engagement has occurred. It's wrong and it has to change.
Could you support a war powers resolution that was narrowly tailored to address the narcotics movement in this area? Or do you feel like, the congressional step there would be to put more guardrails around this?
Well, we need to have the debate, actually. Congress needs to be engaged to debate whether or not the use of the military is the right response to interdicting counter-narcotics in the Western Hemisphere. This is precisely the role of the United States Congress. And once that debate happens, we can determine whether or not that's appropriate. But again, we spent 20 years doing this without debate, without the authorizations, without the oversight, and we've seen how this turns out. It doesn't turn out well.
We have to run.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman, did they outline the justification behind the strikes for you, and was it satisfactory?
It's absolutely not satisfactory. There are a lot of legal questions, and that's why it's so important that this opinion get declassified. The only reason it's classified is because some of the findings that support the fact that this is a threat to the United States. But they're clearly keeping it classified because they don't want to share this rationale.
Are you worried that we could be creeping into a regime change with Venezuela, potential war over there?
Absolutely. And I heard no commitment to coming to Congress for an AUMF, for a declaration of war, before they conduct ground operations, if that's clearly their intent to do so. And I don't understand why there would be several thousand Marines on ships. I served as a Marine on ship. We're not there to conduct boat strikes. We're just there to go in on the ground. So I don't understand why there would be thousands of Marines off the coast of Venezuela if they do not intend to actually use them on the ground.
Is it a deterring presence to have them there?
Deterring from what?
Narcotics movements?
I mean, I didn't get a chance to ask a question, but the question I would have asked is, if you have been successful at deterring boats from transporting narcotics, are you actually succeeding in your goal of deterring drugs, or are drugs coming in other ways? Have you actually seen any decrease in drugs in the United States as a result of a decrease in these boat transits? We have yet to hear any rationale. I mean, the other thing I'd like to ask is if this Honduran drug kingpin was pardoned because he was indicted by the Southern District of New York under the Biden administration, then does this administration plan to pardon Maduro because he too was indicted by the Southern District of New York under the Biden administration? I'd like to hear an answer to that question too.
Thank you, Congressman. Good. Two.
Sorry to mess up your focus. I have to push this back a little bit. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, and I'm going to have you all. Over the line.
Do you have imaginary lines drawn in here?
It's not imaginary, it's literally.
Arbitrary lines. How about that?
I'm gonna wait for you to crouch down so that I can.
Brad Sherman, California. No one in the administration is able to justify the pardon of Juan Hernandez, responsible for 400 tons of cocaine coming into our country, convicted in a court of law, sentenced to 45 years in prison, and now walking the streets of America. This is an administration who murders the mules and liberates the kingpins. Any questions?
Tom, you want to go around and... Senate carriage?
Is Rubio out too?
That I don't know.
Bueno, estaba ahí cuando yo salí, no sé si todavía está.
And then they backtracked those elevators. They went... Rubio's gone, huh? Chasing.
If we were 20 years younger, we could run around together.
Not happening today.
We got so much of them coming in.
What are your thoughts about this briefing? Do you feel like you're getting adequate explanation, justification for these strikes, and where does it go from here?
Absolutely not. I actually think that it was, for me, more of an exercise in futility. Really had no answers. Really didn't gain anything more than what the public already has gotten. Really no determinations as to why the administration has not come to Congress first before any of these strikes. Really no conversation about why, we've got 15,000 troops there, and it doesn't seem to be just about narcotics trafficking. No real answers about pardons that was given to convicted drug traffickers, one former president of Honduras and another who was pardoned as a result of Ulick, I think his name is, manufacturing drugs throughout the United States. If, in fact, this is a war against drugs, anti-narcotics, I think that no real rational decision or real answers about whether or not what we're about to enter into is a war in Venezuela, and thereby coming to Congress, this war powers issue, which is why I have a bill coming up hopefully this week on the floor, talking about war powers and talking about the strikes that have taken place in the Pacific and the Caribbean, as well as another one talking about before the president goes into Venezuela, if that's what he wants to do. And we all heard what Susie Wiles said today, that what this is really about, that he's going to continue, the president's going to continue this until such time there's a regime change with Venezuela. So if this is about regime change, it seems to me that the administration should say that's what it is and should come to Congress to ask for that authorization, which has not taken place. So where I was hoping that we would have a serious discussion, as I opened the meeting, I basically said that this is about Congress and our authority to be a separate but equal branch of government and to make determinations, not the OLC, not just the president by himself, because he's not the only one. He's designed by our country, these oversights and separate the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary parts of government. And it seems as though they're trying to eliminate who we are. This is not Russia. We're not the Duma. You cannot just do what you want to do as Vladimir Putin does. This is the United States of America. We have rules, we have regulations that must be followed. And it's my job and our job, Democrat and Republicans, to hold the executive to that. I'm just shocked, and when we saw some illegal acts done in the past by Richard Nixon, for example, it was Democrats and Republicans, or Republicans and Democrats, that stood up. And in this situation, it should be both of us standing up and saying that this president needs to come before this Congress in order to utilize military force. And that's why we need to pass this War Powers Act and I think there will be two up, hopefully, this week, so that Congress, Democrats and Republicans, can stand up and make a vote on it. Because the camera of history is being recorded right now. And I think all of us in Congress should want to vote on this so that people will know where we stood and not hide behind anybody or give up the responsibilities that we have as members of Congress to the executive branch of government, whether that president is a Democrat or a Republican.
Did you get any sort of explanation for why the September 2nd video is not being made available to all members?
We have never had that explanation, other than I've heard when I was at the Reagan Library, at the defense conference there, the Secretary of Defense say that it was his determination and he was going to make that determination whether or not everybody was going to see it. I myself haven't seen it, and I've been asking. I don't know whether the chair of the committee, of the Foreign Affairs Committee, have seen it, but I have asked and will continue to ask to see that. Why, as a member of Congress and the ranking member in the Foreign Affairs Committee, I'm not allowed to see it, is a question that I have also. Thank you.
Thank you.
want to hear what means. They ended up taking some Julius Steve out the
Hey, can you come over? Somebody's trying to move us, she says. I think we're at the top as far as we face. One of the president's trying to move us. There's a lot of meeting. There's a lot of absolutely. It's 201.
Realized she was missing everything. Yeah.
Getting good. Somebody's good.
I can't wait. I want to bring it in. I can't wait for the time to get it and coordinate it.
I also take them walking out with all the placards and accoutrements.
Yeah. He's the room that I see.
You know.
All the props for the meeting. It's Catherine Clark's hiding around the corner.
There's also, we down order a couple of ways to yell at us anymore, so.
Yeah.
That's the stronger side.
It'd be good if they sent me that email so I would know. Yeah.
Well, I think they don't want to assign you before they assign you.
I'm the only one who can do it.
And yeah, but
No, they won't let me know so at least I can plan ahead.
yeah.
I'm the only one who can do it. There's no one else up here.
Yeah.
I can do cool with it. And cover house.
We got a set for this afternoon.
lot of time before